so happy we alive.
Good evening and welcome to Louisville Late Night. This evening we have a very special guest and a friend all in Kentucky. And at the beginning of the show we want to give Gatewood Galbraith a very special award. He is to be the first winner of the Tom Moore Whiskey Kentucky King Award in honor of all the great work that Gatewood's done on behalf of truth in the state of Kentucky. And we also want to mention here that Gatewood's just came out with his latest book, The Last Free Man in America Meets the Synthetic Subversion. And we want to now present our presenter. We have cover girl Mary Ann from Today's Woman here to present Gatewood with the Tom Moore Whiskey Kentucky King Award and to place the king hat on Gatewood and to give him the last bottle. Now this, let's see, this bottle, they produced this about 1876. That was my great-grandfather, and in Bardstown, Kentucky. And anyway, Gatewood, after 100 years, they have stopped making this. And one of my cousins in Bardstown found this, and this might be the last bottle of Tom Moore whiskey. But the reason this has special significance for we in the family is because we believe that marijuana is a much better helper of the human coping mechanism than alcohol. And anyway, we want you to have this, and Mary Ann is here to both put the king's hat on you. Let's do the king's hat first. And you named him king?
Mary Ann, absolutely. She's supposed to be on Gilligan's Island. You gotta get this weird from that side. You know, see it from this side right here. Well, thank you very much, Patrick. I appreciate that. I'll put this on my shelf right beside the bottle of Whiskey River that Willie Nelson gave me.
All right.
Yes, I have my own special whiskey shelf that not very many people ever get a sip from. But I'll put this in a special place. Thanks very much. As for this hat, I've got a special place where this hat can go to. But it's where did you get this fine specimen of Mardi Gras?
A friend passed that on to me, as a matter of fact.
Well, I think it should go on many other of the Louisville's
Late Night Awards. We'll see.
All right.
But let's get right back to your great book, The Last Free Man in America and the Synthetic Subversion. Now, the synthetic subversion is a key idea, Gatewood, to your whole insight into the political system. And before, in the last show, you were talking about the way that oil companies and the gun manufacturers, or some of them, you were talking about the DuPonts. Over 100 years, and you were talking about the pharmaceutical companies. I mean, how these different interests have an interest in hemp and marijuana not being legal. And then what about the newspaper publishers? Don't they fit into that?
Well, yes, the same way that. What we talked about, encapsulating and summarizing what we talked about earlier, and that was that the chemists and the large corporations in the petroleum industries and the petrochemical companies and the pharmaceutical companies began developing products from the synthetic cycle, stuff that didn't have to be raised off the farm, that they wanted to replace, that they wanted to use to replace those products that were being produced from the natural cycle: fiber, fuel, medicine, and increasingly food. And of course, they've been very successful at that. Today, less than 50% of the fiber is grown off the land anywhere around the world. And cotton accounts for the biggest part of that, and it's very intensive, needs chemicals and chemicals on it to grow. fuel, I mean, it's all monopolized by the petrochemical companies, international oil companies. Medicine, it's all monopolized by the synthetic pharmaceutical industry. If you go into a grocery store and look at the ingredients on a package, you'll find out how rapidly our farmers are being displaced from the heritage of food production. It's all been taken over by the synthetic manufacturers who, in producing the synthetic products, create the toxic waste and hazardous byproducts with which we have such a tough time dealing.
Right.
And that replacement of those items that used to be grown in the natural cycle with items now that are produced from the synthetic cycle, was a planned economic coup on behalf of the Chemical Manufacturers Association. The Chemical Manufacturers Association, the people, the Monsantos, the Dows, the people who create all this pharmaceutical stuff and all this petrochemical plastic age, synthetic age, they have criminalized the farmers competing with them by growing natural plants out of the soil. And so that has redirected trillions of dollars, trillions and trillions of dollars out of the agrarian society, out of the agrarian economy, out of that flow of money from the land that is a natural wealth spreading mechanism. When land is a wealth producing mechanism, it naturally spreads it out amongst a lot of people. And so all that money that used to flow from the land with those products up to the villages and the small towns and up to the cities and the major metropolises, and then started flowing back down, all that agrarian society and economy is gone. And look at all the empty storefronts in our small towns. Look at all the farms up for sale. You can't make a living out of being a farmer anymore. You got to have another job. You got to have real love for the land. It's all corporate owned, and that's just, I think, it's almost anti-American. I mean, the Jeffersonian model of everybody having some small land or some land to tend or to take care of and nurture was supposed to help keep the politically diverse and politically self-sufficient, sovereign, individual American citizens. All that's just almost, it's just gone. It's just fantasy anymore, given the corporate takeover of the land and the monopoly on the production and distribution of the basic commodities of civilization. And they did this by corporate edict, by legislative fiat. They did it by putting Congress in their pockets, by buying them off, by putting extraordinary money into the political parties. And both political parties, which used to be our protections against these things, against these kinds of monsters, have all been bought off by the people that I term the petrochemical, pharmaceutical, military, industrial, transnational, corporate, fascist, elite son of a bitches who bought both parties off from the top down. And that's why I vote two candidates in the last election both belong to the skull and bones brother. I don't mean to disillusion anybody, but there's not a nickel's worth of difference between Kerry and Bush. They're both carrying out the corporate edict.
Well, Gatewood, how about sharing with us a story from your new book here, The Last Free Man in America? I might even pick one here. You say here's a little thing that happened to you. I'm reading directly from the book here. On the way to the small town, Gatewood was talking about karma, and on the way to the small town where we were to be booked, Gatewood and his wife had just been stopped by a police officer who found
I'd be glad to tell that story.
Well, you can tell it better than me. Well, go ahead. You tell the story.
Okay, that's like a chapter called Karma.
Okay.
You learn things by experiencing them. Fyodor Dostoevsky said that originality and the feeling of one's own dignity are achieved only through work and struggle. I mean, nobody can hand you originality and feeling of self-dignity. And you can't be born into it, and you can't inherit it. You've got to earn it, and you've got to earn it through work and struggle. It's what defines a person.
Right.
And, you do a disservice if you try to take them out of that kind of cycle. They used to ask Gandhi, why don't you ever give to the beggars? And he said, well, I don't want to deprive them of the dignity of working for a living. That's how you define yourself. And you test your character and develop character. But anyway,
let me say this though, and that's a key thing in your book, is from the get-go, when you were a young boy through childhood, adolescence, you delivered papers.